Hello, everyone. So I'm actually, who in here heard me talk about DNS Flag Day in San Francisco? All right, that Flag Day has already passed. Did everyone's DNS survive? More or less, yeah, okay, all right. If they're members of the press here, we're always here in this room excited that the internet still functions. Yeah, all right. So of course, so the whole deal with DNS Flag Day in 2019 and then also the new one that we're gonna do next year is that the DNS protocol is, goodness, like 35 years old now. So we've made a lot of changes over the years to the protocol with mixed results on how people implement that. And what I mean by mixed results is very often things like firewalls will not implement exactly what the RFCs state they should implement. So this is really a lot of that push. What happens in the DNS world when firewalls or middleware boxes don't do exactly what they should by protocol, then DNS vendors have to sort of work around that and ensure that the user still gets the answer that they need, even though some boxes in between aren't plain nice in the protocol. Okay, that's the very high level overview. All right. So when I say in this talk, we, this is the we that I'm referring to. So when I say the DNS community in this case, these are the folks that the organizations that participated in this Flag Day. So the one in 2019 was about ensuring that everyone that plays in the DNS protocol implementation space implements properly eDNS or extension mechanisms for DNS. Okay, that protocol is 20 years old. So yay for getting full compliance after 20 years in the internet. That's great. Anyway, this is pretty, to me, a significant moment in internet history, if you will. All of these parties came together and agreed that we were going to do something about this problem. Again, those workarounds that implementers have to do create problems for you in terms of, possibly more bugs in the code, more delays. So we're trying to make the DNS ecosystem better by doing this, okay? I also want to say that I've been in the operations community, or I've done operations for most of my professional career, so I understand the nervousness you get with things like Flag Day. And the Flag Day name is a little, I won't say misleading, but it's a date by which the implementers are no longer going to work around brokenness. It is not a date in which your DNS is going to fall off the earth and you're no longer going to be visible on the internet, okay? But the name actually got us exactly what we wanted, is that people started paying attention to this. And people that pay people to do their DNS services or pay firewall vendors asked their provider to ensure that they were compliant with these changes. So that worked out. All right, yeah. So what do we have now? So we've passed we've passed the 2019 Flag Day, and so, as good engineers do, things went well, so then we have to do something else, right? So we started looking at the DNS, what problems remain? The main one that we're trying to fix with this new Flag Day in 2020, and I want to point out that, number one, the Flag Day date has not been set yet for 2020. One of the complaints to us in the DNS community was that we did not properly announce in good fashion the 2019 Flag Day. So we're trying to get out ahead of that issue this time around. So anyway, there are problems with fragmentation in DNS, particularly in the IPv6 realm. How many of you have had equipment that does not honor IPv6 extension headers? Or have had or still have? Yes, okay, a couple of hands, okay. So anyway, this creates problems in terms of, particularly for DNS, that if fragmentation isn't handled properly, oftentimes this will cause problems for the clients. Now, we've worked really hard to work around that. So DNS works really hard to try to ask other servers the same questions if they don't get the answer that they expect or don't get an answer. But this really, again, creates a lot of delay in the DNS. One thing I want to say very clearly is this 2020 Flag Day does not mean that DNS is not going to still take place primarily over UDP. It will still mostly take place over UDP. What we are saying in 2020, which is the next slide, is number one, that you have to do, if you're going to do DNS as any kind of device or application, you have to be able to perform TCP. It doesn't mean that you will always, it just means that you have to be able to fall back to that if needed. If the answer is too large, we're not going to defragment at this point, so we're going to switch back to TCP, or switch to TCP to ensure we can talk. So I said the 2020 flag date has not yet been set. The other thing that is not quite set yet is what we're going to actually set the eDNS buffer size to. So the extension mechanisms for DNS allow for up to 4096 bytes in the DNS message, but again, there is a lot of equipment that can't handle things, and fragmentation starts to happen right around that 20 byte size. So we're thinking somewhere around in there is going to be what we set this to be, okay? Again, pointing out firewalls here, my apologies to the firewall vendors, but we're happy to help you try to decipher what the RFCs mean. If you're confused, we'd love to help, okay? Let's see here. Okay, so the other thing we got a lot of feedback on is your website, and I want to state a lot of this, please, from the operator perspective, what do you have to do today? The answer is nothing in terms of configuring things. So, yeah, but please still listen. Your job is to be aware of this and to go out to the dnsflagday.net site, and on there we will keep you updated and posted with things like the date and what we set this buffer size to be. Also on that site is a test tool. The test tool is in progress, so we'll be working on that in the coming weeks. You can do manual tests by firing off these example dig commands here. And again, if you have contacts at any of the people on that list of folks that are cooperating in this, and you have problems with your test, all of us respond to direct emails, sometimes even phone calls, about how you can be compliant or what you need to tell your provider so that your domain can be compliant. Okay, so that's what I just said. Please go to the DNS Flag Day site. You can also follow DNS Flag Day on Twitter for you youngsters. Yeah, and then talk to us at different places. And again, we're going to try to be more proactive in announcing what we're doing and when we're doing it. These are some really good references if you're sort of confused about what I'm talking about. One thing that I'd really like to highlight is Jeff Houston's link on here, and the slides will be available on the site. But Jeff really talks about the problem with the fragmentation in IPv6. V4 handles fragmentation very differently than V6, and the fragmentation in V6 does cause some very significant problems in the DNS. So I'd like to point that one out. The other thing is Fujiwara-san from JPRS reported recently, until recently we thought the fragmentation attacks on the DNS were sort of lab-only exercises, but maybe this isn't the case. So we're trying to get ahead of that as well, and so some of this is not only just for functionality, but for improved security. Let's see. And I thought I had one more slide, but I guess I do not. I do not. Okay. Oh, this is the older one. It doesn't have, I'm sorry. This set doesn't have cat pictures in it. We did a new one that had cat pictures, and my apologies, that one didn't get updated. Anyway, it's my fault. Okay, so with that, we have just a few minutes. If anyone has any questions about this, I'm happy to try to address them. Okay. Very good, thank you.